I'm glad to be here together at a time when lots of people are feeling stuck to use 5 questions that get students and their grown-ups unstuck. So grab something to write with and on. We'll start with some quick background and stories. Over 20 years, I've been an engineer, designer, leader, coach, educator, and parent. And I've seen, as I'm sure you have, that our big goals are lots of different connected challenges. Kids have to get up in the morning and be their best, manage time, do stuff that's hard for them, work together, handle conflicts and social dynamics, navigate events happening around them like we have today. Their grown-ups have to do all those same things to be good parents and educators. When we're stuck in one of those, that stuck can spread through our lives and others. So even little stucks matter, but they can't feel like a big deal or we won't face them. So students need to know that stuck happens to everyone all the time. And they need to have practical ways to unstick lots of different challenges, ways that hold up to adulthood. I've gotten to team up with experts in practices from learning and reflection to leadership, communication, and justice, to design and startup culture, and lots of everyday challenge busters, both grown-ups and kids. The good news is that like our challenges are connected, our ways of getting unstuck are connected too. In their own words, these practices all remind us to ask the same 5 questions, to find new possibilities in who's involved, and together, what's happening and why? What matters most here? What different ways are there to do this? And what's a step to try now so we can see what happens? If it's great, great. And if not, maybe we see something else that matters, or a different step to try. These questions keep coming up because they're our compass to explore all sides of any challenge, from past and present to future, and details to big picture, to make it better. Naming it, say our innovator's compass, and naming these powerful views, say our people, observations, principles, ideas, and experiments, helps us use them more. It's a compass, not any one map or process. Different people and methods use their own words and ways. The numbers show one common, careful way. But these are just 5 questions that move us forward. You already think or say them in some way when you do unstick. So just ask any of them more, in any way, with grown-ups, students, and yourself, when or before stuck happens. That's most of my message. I'd like you to take a first spin now, just in your head for 1 minute. Try a few or all of these questions on the topic of how to be your best for something you're doing after this. Pick anything. Where'd you start? How'd it feel? What felt familiar? Now I'm going to talk about one of them at a time. As I do, on one side of your paper, write things you say when you unstick students in these ways. I think our biggest way of being stuck is not fully seeing who's involved. Like students who are going it alone, in their head, avoiding others, or only seeing them through the lens of this problem. So people who are part of this or who can help are at the center, because only with them can we see and solve challenges. We're also often stuck not seeing what's actually happening and why, so it's really hard to make it better. We might have to get past generalizations or judgments like, I'm always late, to useful observations, seeing real details on all sides like, I'm late for this particular class and not that one. And why? Maybe a connected challenge like, I'm tired, and so on. Sometimes seeing what's happening for other people involved helps us see where we're stuck, like if we haven't realized that we're late a lot, or maybe how we treat someone else, or that everything is actually fine. Like, wait, he's not mad about that grade? Feelings are big clues. The little hearts remind us to check those. Maybe you ask students to tell you more about what they're feeling or doing, or encourage them to notice or empathize here. Now, if we can't zoom back out, we can get stuck in the weeds, missing the big picture. Maybe overwhelmed by what's happening and not seeing what actually matters most about it for people involved. A few guiding principles here, like getting this done and also getting some sleep, or being kind, or what might not matter as much as we thought, like being perfect, or having this thing this second. Maybe you ask students to identify goals or priorities here. Or we might get stuck not able to see any way or more than one way to make something that matters to us happen. That's why we tell students to come up with ideas or brainstorm or see a bigger picture of even blue sky solutions and not shoot them down right away. Again, with people to help. And of course, we can be stuck with fuzzy ideas with no real action, unable to see or choose a next step or scared to take it. We invite kids to commit to one small step with real details like, I'm going to ask this person this question at this time. I like naming those little experiments, calling out that we don't know for sure that they're going to work. We need to pay attention to what happens for everyone involved and own that. You might ask kids to iterate or get up and try again. So how we all see what's happening, what matters, what ways are there, what's a step to try, those are our observations, our principles, our ideas, our experiments, and they are real things we can use together to unstick ourselves and our world and make things better. Because how things are now is not how they have to be. What happens when we do? Well, these 5 questions are in use from preschools to global conferences. Let's hear some school stories around some of those different connected challenges from individual to interpersonal and school-wide ones. I'll actually start at home just to show how easy this can be. Our family has a habit of turning frustrations into observations and then ideas. So I'll hear, my Cheerios fell on the floor, and say, great observation. Got an idea? And yes, my kids totally use that on me when I whine. And that's great. Those words, those questions are power tools, and they're owning them. Kids are born making great observations, throwing out great ideas, and just trying stuff. We just need to give them space and language to keep using those in all parts of their lives. Okay, so my kids obviously heard this stuff from early on, but here's an awesome way to introduce it to students.
I start using the example to my students saying, hey, I was in a fight with my mom. Who are the people involved? I'm planning my wedding this year, and she wants me to have it in one place, and I wanted to have another. So who's involved? And the students, because it's a personal situation, they grab onto the concept so quickly regarding, okay, well, it's you and your mom who's involved, but also it's your wedding. So that means it's your fiance, and that means it's also your bridesmaids. And once they start to figure out that they're solving a problem that is personal to me and therefore now personal to them, to be able to use that in both their personal life and their academic life, I feel like only solidifies their learning in a deeper way. So that's definitely been an aha moment for me using the compass, is that it not only can be used for academic content, but it can be used for social and emotional learning as well.
So here's how students using the compass in their academic and personal life looks at another high school. This is a programming teacher whose students use the compass to design apps, but she also gave them a little time to tackle something on their mind on their own. A bunch of them took on stress about a math test coming up. I'll let you read this one. Maybe you see ways to coach her, like maybe to offer herself some positive observations too, but this seemed to get her going. The teacher followed up with the students the next day, and she wrote this. Now, another student in the same class had something else on his mind. I love that he tried these questions on how to approach a girl. You might see places to coach him too. I love his humility about not knowing how she feels down in the observations in lower left, and would love to see him wonder about what matters most to her above that. But I really love that his experiment is to start by just talking to her so he can learn that for himself. I hope he found a specific time to actually do that. So that brings us to interpersonal relationships and conflicts. There are no shortage of conflicts in school. Compasses about recess problems are pretty popular. Here's one with just a few kids.
So this is one that we did towards the end of the school year. I think it was literally the last week of school. We had 6 students who were involved in an incident out on the playground. So I brought them all together along with the adult that was out there. They shared their observations and they shared their principles, and then we ended up with 4 next steps. The challenge on this one is that these kids will be going to middle school next year, but it worked for the end of this year, and that was what we were hoping for.
At another elementary school, a teacher got tired of everyone complaining to him about each other after recess, so he invited the entire class to look at their playground culture. They shared their observations on stickies too. social things like they always play tag and some kids feel excluded and sad, and practical things like people stand at the bottom of the slide and block it. He wrote down principles they shared: fun, being safe, free choice, people listen, being included, agree on our own rules. Then they all drew out some ideas for new games, rules, props, signs. Then they tried them at recess, saw what happened, and made some adjustments. Now, we educators are part of the equation too. Kids need to see that if they express their observations, their ideas, we'll support those. This high school English teacher let students work in groups on why they felt they couldn't be at their best in her long block class. On the left is being tired, on the right is being hungry. What I love is that the teacher tried out different ideas they had for breaks. I love what the students learned from that experiment about their own motivation and self-management. And I also love that the teacher openly shared how she came to know and trust her students more. I personally use a compass with my Olin College classes at the start and middle of the semester, and whenever it's helpful to shape the class together and respond to student needs. Talking about pulling in grown-ups, this Miami-based upper elementary teacher pulls in parents to help, like together helping the student build his confidence to speak up in class. The same teacher brings us a story about navigating current events that can affect the entire school. On the Monday her students came back to school after Hurricane Irma, she invited them to reflect on their experience, first with an individual compass on paper. She had them observe what they and others experienced before, during, and after the hurricane, what was most important to them about that, and what ideas and experiments they had to make the experience afterward better for themselves and people around them. Then she gave them time and space at the whiteboard to see one another's thoughts and spark a conversation. She appreciated this chance to connect with her students as they expressed their emotions and saw their lives with new perspective. Talking about big stuff, what about kids' personal big picture, finding their own path through careers and classes? These compass questions are used in career counseling programs, like these Getting Unstuck workshops at Smith College. Students take some time on their own to consider what they've observed about themselves, things they've done that have or haven't made them tick, and what seems to matter most and not to make them happy and fulfilled, and ideas to pursue that. They talk with a partner as they go. As one experiment, they put up a question for other students and staff to answer. What a great way to tap the resources in the room. Students in my U-oriented collaborative design class at Olin College also use these questions, first around day-to-day stucks and then around exploring their life path. Which brings us to adulthood. What happens when adults around students ask these questions more often? This high school history teacher did a quick mini compass to be more present on a school trip and stop stressing about his to-do list. I love his questioning, what matters most, all done or all here? And his experiment, creating his to-be list instead of his to-do list. And finally, back to our first speaker, Catherine, on what happens when grown-ups can bring social emotional tools like these questions to the way they work together.
For me and our faculty, sometimes we can talk things to death. And oftentimes, I know we all feel frustrated because we all want a voice within the problem and to solve it. So the Innovators Compass has worked really well because we're doing it quietly. We set up the grid, we all have our Post-its, and we actually just look at it quietly together. It's something so visual and so tangible that I think it just makes people think differently about a problem. They're realizing there are solutions and that everyone has a voice.
That readiness to sense our stucks, to embrace them and ourselves and other people, and to be an unsticker, that's life-changing. When we practice these questions, they're top of mind to share with students, and we can be better grown-ups for our students, too. Let's take one more spin, one question at a time. What's something on your mind right now that feels a little stuck? You can go deeper on the one you started before, or pick something else. Maybe something you'd be up for sharing with students, like Catherine described in the first video. Make a compass on the other side of your piece of paper, a circle and 4 lines, or just journal the questions if you like. At the top, write the topic on your mind. I'll call out the questions and a little coaching tip you can use for each in that numbered, careful order. You can pause after each one. So, who's involved? Write or draw that in. Yourself, of course. And If there are others, ideally you'd explore these questions with and for each of them, but it's great to start exploring on your own. What's happening? Why? Add some observations. Different snapshots with real details of what each person is doing, saying, thinking, and especially feeling. It's fine to guess, just add a question mark, particularly about other people. So, he's mad becomes, he's mad? What matters most here? Add some principles, different, maybe competing things that matter or might not so much. What ways are there? Add ideas. Try some different who's, what's, when's, where's, and how's. Anyone and anything around you can help. And what's a step to try? What's a small experiment with real details, a specific who, what, when, where, and how, so you do it? It might just be reaching out to people and asking about one of your guesses, or starting one of your ideas. Maybe you can try it right now and see what happens. I ask people what question helped the most, and it's different every time. It just depends on where we're stuck. Remember, any of those might move us forward. So prompt students and grown-ups, including yourself, to ask them more often, in any way, when or before they get stuck. Make a reminder on your calendar or desk to ask these questions. Say when you do your own reflecting and planning, or when you talk with students. And remember to let them try while you listen. Don't inject your own observations, principles, or ideas for them. My mission is to make these questions accessible for every person and moment because we forget when we're stressed, rushed, most of the time. So there are tons of printable formats on innovatorscompass.org that people have suggested, from posters to ones you can write in, stickers to put somewhere handy, bedtime bookmarks you can give to little kids and their parents, games, and cards with those coaching tips. There's also a free online app for these virtual times and lots of quick videos folks have sent in. Just reach out to me and share your experiences. And if you can, share your unstucks on Twitter or in any way. They can help other educators and their stuck students, because we all must and can be unstickers. Go be an unsticker.